The final session, always one of the highlights and the favorites, is the Patient and Caregiver Symposium, Patient and Caregiver panel session. The whole day is the symposium. It's going to be led by Annette Stanton, who needs really no introduction. She's been a long-standing friend and member of the UCLA Aggie Hirshberg Center for Pancreatic Diseases and the Hirshberg Foundation. She's a licensed psychologist and past chair of the Department of Psychology here at UCLA. And she looks at predictors of mindfulness and wellness, and more importantly, also looks at interventions to improve patients who are facing cancer's wellness. And she's going to lead our patient and caregiver panel today. So Annette, thank you very much.
Thank you all. It's great to see you here and great to see that you stayed for this panel, which I have loved over the years, and I am so thankful to the Hirshberg Foundation for having me. I want to say a piece of good news to start, and that is simply by virtue of your being here, I know that you are a group who is coping well with having pancreatic cancer or supporting someone. And I know that because of my Hirshberg-funded research. And some of you may have taken part in this research, that people who actively approach their experience with cancer, and specifically with pancreatic cancer, are people who are less likely to be depressed and less likely to be highly anxious. So simply by virtue of you being here, I know that you are active approachers for your cancer. On the other hand, people who try to push the cancer experience away from their thoughts and from their hearts, people who avoid their experience, are people who are more at risk for higher depression and higher anxiety. And so those people are more at risk, and fortunately, you are not among that group. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. I also especially want to thank our panel, and I'm especially excited about them today, and I will, without further ado, focus on our panel. We have Jerry and Roberta and Vic and Ashley, and each are going to take, we have agreed on this, 2 minutes or fewer to talk a little bit about their experience, and then we're going to get to some questions about how they've coped with their experience over the years. So I'm going to start with Jerry. Jerry, would you like to summarize your experience for us in 2 minutes or fewer, which is not an easy thing
No
to
pressure. I was born. Hi, my name's Jerry Weiner, and I am a 3-year pancreatic cancer thriver. I don't like saying survivor. I'm thriving in life. My tumor was a complete accidental find. I was going to get a CT scan for something different, and I knew something was up when they called me like 3 hours after the scan. And just like Ann said, I got immediately into action. I was like, okay, let's do this, let's get the test. And I had the Whipple surgery, and then I had 6 months of chemo right afterwards. And it feels like today that it never happened, but you never forget something like that. So I'm just thrilled to be here.
Thank you, Jerry. Roberta?
Hi, I'm Roberta Luna, and I'm a 23-year pancreatic cancer survivor. Thank you. My tumor is inoperable because of the location, so I've been living with it. I've changed that. It's living with me now. It's been long enough, so now it is living with me. Mine was discovered after losing my father, uncle, and grandmother to the disease and having vague symptoms because of my loss. I actually went to my doctor, who was not very happy to do it, but after many visits, demanded that he check for pancreatic cancer. So getting all the tests done, coming back, they don't look at you in the face. You already know what it is. He came in, grabbed my hand, and said, as you know, nobody survives this disease, so my best advice to you is to go home, put your house in order, but you do have pancreatic cancer, and we will start chemotherapy immediately, which we did, but him telling me to go home and put my house in order was probably the worst advice, but the best advice as well, because it made me decide I am not going to be the statistic that does not survive. I will survive this. Thank you. And kind of what helped me along, and I know I say this all the time, and I know it's not true, but after getting that diagnosis and going to the car and starting the car, the radio came on, and Bob Marley saying, "Don't worry about a thing, every little thing is going to be okay." And for some reason, I just knew it was going to happen. I didn't go through the 5 stages they say you go through after getting that kind of a diagnosis. But during my own treatment, like I said, mine is inoperable, so I did many rounds of chemo. My mom was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer in 2005, and she passed away in 2013. So during my treatment, we were also taking care of my mom, who lived in New Mexico, and we brought her here to take care of her. It's been a wonderful journey, and you'll cut me if I'm going too much. Okay. I have a tendency to talk. It's been quite a journey, and my husband, my family's been there beside me, and that's the only way I think to get through this. But I've taken a chance to do many things that we always say, well, we have the time to do it, so we'll just wait. I did my first half marathon. I've jumped out of a plane 10 times. And just new experiences. I've recently started, I think we're in our 3rd year now, a podcast where we talk about nothing but pancreatic cancer. It's not as depressing as it sounds. We hopefully give a lot of hope and a lot of inspiration to people out there. But and Hirschberg has been wonderful support of my podcast, and I thank them all very much. And again, just don't give up hope. Don't let anybody tell you how much time you have. That's not up to the doctor. It's up to somebody else, whatever your belief is. It's not up to the doctor to tell you, go home, put your house in order. You only have 3 to 6 months to live. So, thank you.
Thank you, Roberta. And Vic?
Vic Luna, better known as Roberta's husband. I think through the years, the journey that has brought us through. It started back in 1998. Unfortunately, a situation that we ourselves at that time had no idea of what pancreatic cancer was. I think we heard about it with little Joe, Michael Landon of the the Bonanza series. Was up on Carter, what was that program?
Johnny Carson.
Johnny Carson,
Sorry.
there you go.
I went blind.
And of course, when he announced that he had pancreatic cancer, he got on the stage and did push-ups and said he's going to beat that. Well, unfortunately, that wasn't the case. Through the course of years, we saw her father go through it. It was horrible. We saw her mother go through it. It was horrible. We saw her uncle go through it. It was horrible. When it hit her, it hit the whole family. It wasn't just her. It was all of us. What we could do is what we could do, and that was just to be there because we were going through it together. And that's the only thing I can have to offer. I'm here. I support her. And however we have of ourselves, they've made us strong, because that has made me strong to be able to help her. If I can't stay strong, I cannot help her. And hopefully with what we do as a family, as friends, as support groups, we are in this together, and we are going through this journey, and we're going to see the end of what we are expecting, and that is to eradicate pancreatic cancer.
Thank you.
By the way, just real quick, I don't know, like I said, he's been a great support. I don't know how many people will go into a plane 13,000 feet and jump out of a plane with you, but he's done it with me a number of times.
Thank you.
And Ashley, would you summarize your experience for us?
My name is Ashley Baylor, and I was the caregiver for my dad along with my family. He passed away April 5th, 2020, so today is his 5-year anniversary of transitioning. And we didn't know too much of anything, but I mean, my dad's kind of stubborn too, so he didn't really want to share too much, just because as a family he tried to protect us from the pain and what he knew he was about to go through. And he wanted to prepare us. I think my dad knew that he was going to transition eventually, so he just tried to keep us together. And that's actually what inspired me to create a patient-centered and caregiver-centered online platform for caregivers to show support for what I feel me and my family lacked and did not have in order to help him more.
Ashley, thank you. I want to say that Ashley flew from Texas today to honor her father in his memory of a 5th anniversary. And I find that just incredible, and thank you for coming from Texas.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, now to our questions. Would you talk a little bit about what the most challenging aspect of the experience has been for you and how you have addressed that challenge? And Jerry, maybe we can start with you.
I told Amy and Sarah I was going to say this. Chemo sucks. And I was given FU5, which I think is appropriately named. And my husband asked me once, he goes, because he would just see me go through it and my kids, and he's like, what does it feel like? And I couldn't grab, like, what am I going to say? And I said, it feels like my soul is being sucked out of my body. And, I just, I don't know how you prepare someone for that, but I'm just so grateful for the support of my husband. Like, I honestly, halfway through chemo, I said, I'm not continuing. I don't care. And thank God for cannabis, because it really saved my life. I had lost so much weight and I was violently throwing up every day. And I just have to say it was so funny. So I believe we spoke to you, and we got this prescription, and so my husband, it happened to be, I don't know if you guys know, but the date was 4/20, and every cannabis store was sold out. And, and then, my husband and I are like, you go in there, it's like an Apple store. They've got all these displays, and it was a unique experience, but I so support that, because then I was able to continue the journey. But it really, and the thing real quickly I'll say is, the strangest experience, and I don't know, Roberta, if you went through this, was I'm going to chemo for 6 months and you've got your routine and everything else, and then you're done. And it's like, bye, and I was so lost emotionally. First of all, everyone was like, oh, you should be grateful. And I get it. And ironically, a friend of mine who had kids the same age as my kids, who we had play dates with, she was diagnosed like a month ahead of me, and she passed away 2 months after I finished chemo. And it came up, why am I living? Why was my dad passed away from pancreatic cancer 11 years ago. And I know that there's support groups, but I just want to say this. I went on to, although things have progressed so far, I went on to support groups, and mine was stage 1. It was caught early, and here people are on there that were like, had 3 weeks to live. And so I had guilt. I'm like, what am I going to say? And life went back on. It was like everybody goes back to their lives. And I'm like, I just went through this life-altering experience. And how do I go back to work? How do I reassemble and get into it? And I have to say, it was yoga, that helped me. And it was talking to my husband, and it just was, it took time. It took a year for me to kind of be like, and then, oh my God, the scans, every time I went to a scan, and Amy told me this, it's called scanxiety. And I love that term, because I go through, they're not gonna find anything. Oh my God, are they gonna find something? And that insanity. And, if I had the time, I would start a support group that is for, people on the other end. Yeah. And how do you assimilate back into life? So That's it.
Thank you, Jerry. And I'll just make one comment. One, I love that cannabis and your husband, two really helpful things. I also would just give a label to what Jerry's experiencing, and that was called the re-entry phase. When you have finished treatment and everybody thinks you should be celebrating and everybody thinks you're done. And often you don't feel done. And re-entry phase is something that lots of people with cancer experience. And that may be actually when you get the time to process what you've been through.
Yes.
And that may be when you need the most support.
Right.
And so that's a really common experience and a time when coming together with others may be the most important thing that you can do. And finding other sources of support. So, Roberta, can you tell us about your most challenging experience?
I don't know, there were so many, it seems like. Because first of all, getting the doctors to even listen when losing my dad and finding out that his mother passed away from the same thing, I went to my doctor and said, what's the chance? What do I need to do? What do I need to watch for? And I was told, don't worry about it, hun. You're too young. I was only in my 40s, and it's not hereditary. So I didn't think about it again. And then when my uncle died from pancreatic cancer and we became ill about the same time, I went back and asked the doctor again. I said, I've just lost my third family member. What do I need to do? I'm sure there's something there. And I've not been feeling well, and I'm not a hypochondriac. I don't like to go to the doctor any more than anybody else. So what do I need to watch for? And again, told the same thing. Don't worry about it, hun. You're too young, and it's not hereditary. This went on for a few months, and not feeling any better, I finally just went back and said, you know what, we need to check for pancreatic cancer. He was not thrilled about doing it. I had my checkbook, that's when we wrote checks at the time, and just signed it and gave it to him and says, I don't care what you need to do, I need some answers. So we did all the various tests, that you go through, and very invasive. Went back, had my office visit on April 1st, April Fool's Day. Went in, and again, like I said, he was not looking at me, so I already knew what he was going to tell me. And when he told me, I'm sorry, you're right, it's pancreatic cancer, go and put your house in order, I decided, no, we're going to fight this. So that was very challenging, and just starting chemo within the next week.
Wow.
I had no time to really prepare anybody, and I think survivor guilt is very real. And I started feeling it even in the very beginning. When I had to tell people that I had pancreatic cancer, I found myself saying, I'm sorry, when they broke down. I'm like, I'm sorry. I found out that I was trying to comfort them. And so just, and there were many times going through the treatment, don't want to get too vague, but you're sitting on the pot with a pot and, just not having a really great day, wondering, why am I going through this? Why am I doing this? Why am I putting my family through this? It'd be so much easier not to, maybe take things in my own matter and just not survive, not live. Take my own life, whatever it was, just to get it in. My husband, and I would turn on the music really loud and turn on the shower so nobody could hear me, because I'm apparently a very loud thrower-upper, so I'm little but not very delicate apparently. So he would come, and always at the perfect moment, when I was wondering, why am I fighting, he would be on the other side of the door. And that was my reason why I continued to fight. And with me, my doctors, they're on me too much. Like my last chemo was in 2018. I made some quick lifestyle changes. I gave up my beloved Dr. Pepper and some other things. My coffee in the morning was a Dr. Pepper. I gave that up and watched more of my diet, went more natural, and gave up all the sugar. My my tumor became dormant for unknown reason on Christmas Eve in 2018. Wow. That was my last treatment. So in a way, I feel kind of cheated because I didn't get to ring the bell. Everybody else gets to ring the bell when they finish chemo. I haven't rung the bell yet, but there'll be another time apparently at some point in time I will hopefully get to ring the bell. But it's been an amazing journey, and I know people think I'm crazy when I say this, and you're probably going to think I should be committed. But I can't say getting pancreatic cancer was the worst thing to ever happen to me. It was one of the best things to have happen. I have gotten so many relationships, things, Hirschberg, so many others that never would have happened to me. I became very good friends, we did, with Charlotte Ray. That never would have happened before. She was a survivor for a long time. We became very good friends. I've gotten great friendships and done things I never would have done before because I would have taken all the time. I still wouldn't have jumped out of a plane. I'd still be waiting till that perfect time, but that time never comes, you know. So there's many, many trials, many different things you go through, but you know, it's just been an amazing journey. And like I said, I can't say it was, don't have me committed, but I can't, you know, necessarily say it was the worst thing to have happened to me. I wish my family hadn't gone through it.
Yeah.
It was very difficult to watch my dad, who was never sick a day in his life. He never complained. He was 6 feet tall, 175 pounds. To see him dwindle down to 70 pounds, and I had to change his bedding, was humiliating for him. And that was one of the hardest things that I don't wish on anybody, or if I could take that away from my family, I would, but I can't say I would change my circumstance. I know that sounds weird, but.
Thank you, Roberta. And you've expressed what lots of other people also express. And I thank you for providing an example of somebody who takes the opportunity for cancer to the experience to enrich their lives and to focus on what's important in life. So thank you for doing that and for providing that example for us for 23 years.
Yeah.
Vic.
Just an extension of what Roberta's gone through. Obviously, I've gone through it with her side by side. Most often, they think that we're joined at the hip, and we are, for the most, in our journey through our life with pancreatic cancer. I think the most challenging thing for me really has been the fact that when she was diagnosed, she was not coming out and saying, advocating for herself. I was advocating for other people. We're going to Washington to advocate for funds. We'd make our commitment to other organizations, Firstburg being one of the top ones here. Appreciate for what you've done for us. I thank you for what you've been able to support Roberta on a personal basis. But it took 6 years, and I had to push her for her to come out to express the fact that she was actually been diagnosed 6 prior years of pancreatic cancer. She would advocate for everybody else, but never would say anything about herself or the journey that she was traveling through. She'd come home from chemo, you know, having her days. It's a horrible, horrible thing to have to sit there and watch somebody and you can't do anything for them other than just be there for them. Whether it's just to bring her a wet towel, put it around her neck, something to throw up into, be at her disposal. Making it easy as I possibly could for her to be able to go through these changes that she was going through, and experience that most of you here have probably seen. It's not a good experience. It's not a good sight to be able to do. But the worst thing is you can't do anything about that except to be there for them. She has taught me how to be strong, compassionate. I've learned a lot from her. And that in turn has made me a better person. Not because I wanted to be a better person. I had to be a better person for her and what she was going through. That's just the nature of the beast. If I didn't do that, then I would be letting her down, and I myself would not be able to help her, and that's not what my intentions had ever been. Everybody in that disposition needs to be taken care of at whatever level of capacity that they're able to do. You have to learn to be judgmental. You can't express yourself of what you, on a personal basis, want for her. You have to listen, and I listened to her, what her needs were. But I had to form that fine line as to how much of that she was possibly feeling that maybe she was putting me out by the condition that she was. And I, at one time, would never, ever think that I would want to think that I would become a burden to her, because that would never and will never be the case.
Vic, thank you. And I just want to say that when you talk about just being there, I think you offered the most essential thing that anyone can offer someone else, being there for them as they go through the experience. Jerry? Ashley. Sorry.
Okay. So for us, the hardest part was watching someone who's like 10 feet tall you lose their function over time. So our dad was still pastoring, and so every Wednesday, every Sunday that he's preaching and teaching before the church, like we were actively watching him dwindle and function in pain before church. If typically he would, tie his tie, straighten up, I'm in the office and he can't button up his t-shirts anymore, so I'm having to help him button up his shirts. He can't tie his ties anymore. He can't fill his mic because of his neuropathy, so they have to change his mics out for a headset. And just watching him struggle in that way, if he's walking up the steps to the pulpit, having to move slower. And he would be commentating this to the congregation, like, you see, I have to move a little slower, I have to be a little more deliberate in picking my feet up, because he couldn't feel while he was walking. And to be at home with him, if, my sisters had to help him bathe some nights, he's starting to lose his balance. One day I was helping him to get, changed after church, and he started weeping because he was in so much pain. And he was like, I just wanted to stop. And I just folded my body over on top of him, and I hugged him and I cried with him. And I was like, if I could, I would take it from you. I would take it away. And so, for my mom, just, her not knowing where to step in or how to step in, because like I said, he was trying to protect us. So in a lot of ways we couldn't help because he didn't want that burden on us. And so it was just watching him, somebody that's like a superhero in your eyes, and you're essentially watching his humanity before you, and you can't stop what's happening, as the caregiver.
And how did you get through that?
Honestly, if it weren't for our faith in Jesus Christ, I don't know. That's just us being very honest. All the prayers and support that we got from our church family, the love that was extended to us, just being together as a family, spending time together as a family. My professors, I was in school at the time, my professors would pull me in the office and just pray with me because I would be a wreck, on campus and just not knowing what to do. So if it weren't for believing in somebody that's bigger than us, I don't know how we would have made it. And if it weren't for my father's faith, he constantly drove that home. He was like, no matter what, I'm good, because I know I'm going to go home and be with the Lord. And I just need you guys to trust what God's will is and trust God's plan and his timing, and that no matter what, you guys are going to be okay. And that was what helped me and my family.
Thank you. Thank you. So we can probably guess from your lived experience what tips you might offer others, but are there things that you would suggest to everyone in the audience about what helps you get through?
I have tips that hopefully will resonate with some. So everybody, the person who's diagnosed, everybody asks them what they can do. And they they feel powerless and they want to get into action. And, and so as the person with the cancer, it's like, I don't know, people would send food, which was very sweet, but I couldn't eat. And I'm sorry, I have a blanket collection that could just fill up closets, and so I figured out, I'm like, it's my job to give them a task, and that will make them feel better. And I came up with this idea. I said, all I want is a handwritten letter. I go, just if you write me a letter. And I'm telling you, I came home from surgery and I had 180 letters waiting for me. And I felt like everyone was a gift and it was a joy. And then I honestly had people who wrote to me every week, and it made them feel better because it was like, here's something little I can do. And it just brought me so much joy. So that was amazing. And then the only other thing I'd say, like for Ashley and Vic and my husband and all the caregivers out there. So many people, and not intentionally, forget about the caregivers, and they forget about they're going through the experience too. I mean, I went through it with my dad, and thank God for Hirschberg. I mean, I just got into action and got involved, and it was so amazing. And so it's just like, if you can remember, if you know someone, ask the caregiver how they're doing, because it's really, I never thought about it. It's like my husband had his own traumatic experience, and so you're not in it alone. So come up with, that was such a great relief for me to come up with the letter idea, and it really helped the people in my life.
I'll bet there are going to be some letters written of what you just said, Carrie. Thank you. Roberta.
It's difficult. You take. It's not even a day at a time. It's more like a second or a minute at a time, and just get through it. Whatever the best way you can, whatever your inspiration is. But looking at what Jerry was saying about the caregiver, I was a caregiver for my mom and dad, and being the patient survivor, I got to tell you, being the caregiver was way harder. It was difficult because you're trying to put on a face, you're trying to be positive, you're trying to do whatever you can for your loved one, and there's nothing you can do. It's just hard. And then I'm not the best patient, I'm sure he'll tell you, but so it's very difficult because then as the patient side, you're trying to hide everything. The caregiver's trying to hide what they're feeling and what their real thoughts are. And I really think, in my opinion, that we've got to take care of our caregivers, because if something happens to them, what's going to happen to us? We need them maybe more than they need us, but the caregiver is very, very important. So like I said, it's hard for me when people would ask me, what can I do for you? Again, they would do the meals, and though I couldn't eat the meals, it did help because my family was able to eat them, because we had a teenage son at home, and you know how teenagers can eat. So it was really great to have that and not have to worry about that. But as far as me asking them to do anything, it was very difficult for me. I can't ask them, could you go to the store for me? I have a hard enough time doing it with my husband. Like, can you go to the store for me? Can you do this? So I think my best advice is offer the caregiver, can I come stay with your loved one for an hour, or while you take a nap, or while you go read, or go take a shower, or go take a walk. And seeing a movie I know is out because we can never stay that long, but just give them that little bit of a break from trying to be the best caregiver, and they're giving it. I mean, you give it your whole heart and soul. But it's very, very wearing. It's like I said, I think the caregiver is the hardest job in the world. I didn't have to do anything as a patient survivor, just survive. But to have, to take care of my dad was very difficult. Like I said, he was a very proud man, and to see the change where, I was having to bathe him and change him, it was horrible. I had to tell him I was closing my eyes so we could get things done. And taking care of my mom wasn't easy either. She was a very feisty, independent woman, and trying to take care of her and get her to eat was like, you don't feel like eating. It's like, leave me alone. I'm doing the best I can. So I think the best advice really is to take care of the person that's taking care of you. Find somebody who can give them the time off, or just a few minutes even, just to sit with you or help you out with whatever you're doing while they can go take a break. And if you can convince them, I think it's probably very hard to convince the caregiver to take a break, but just to do something so they can take care of themselves.
Caring for the caregiver, I think that's so important that you've said. Another thing that what you just described that reminds me of, the trying to be strong for each other. So you're trying to be strong for Vic, Vic's trying to be strong for you. And sometimes in research language, we call that protective buffering. So everybody tries to be strong for each other, and you don't end up connecting because you're trying to be so strong for each other. But you both have been able to both have that strength, but also not let that interfere with connecting with each other, which seems to be the most important thing. So congratulations for not being prey to protective buffering. Good for you.
Thank
too.
you. And I do have to say real quick, he's always saying he's a survivor too of 50 years, because we've been married for 50 years. So he survived me for 50 years. I think he's probably for sainthood or something. I don't know.
That's right.
So Vic, do you have a tip?
I think at this point here, I really want to advise all the caregivers. It's difficult to change things as they are. The best thing I can do is listen, be patient. Things that sometimes come off, sometimes the delivery may not be what they're hearing. You just got to be more cautious of how you respond. You don't want them to see the struggles that you're going through. It just sets them back even further. Once again, I said earlier, I think the guilt that they may develop in you doing what they're doing, you don't want to set them back. Sometimes you got to look the other way. Sometimes you got to be absorbent of some of the things that you yourself may not at one time ever thought you could, take for granted. I wake up in the morning, I reach over to her. If I feel her warmth, I thank the Lord. Like you said, faith has a lot to do with it. We do a lot of praying. If I can feel her warmth, God has given me one more day that's going to make that day last a lifetime for me. And that's all I can say is just be patient, be judgmental, be careful how your delivery is. What you're doing for you, you're doing for them. And they are the reason why you're there for them. You're just about as good of medicine for them as medical assistance can be. Spiritually, it's a great thing to do. Prayer is not out of your realm. You gotta reach for something. And sometimes that little prayer that you can say, whether together or on your own, that'll give you strength. And that's what we need.
Thank you, Vic. Ashley?
I have 3 tips. Number 1, as a caregiver, treat this experience like when you're on a plane and that face mask, that oxygen mask is dropping. You cannot help your loved one if you don't help yourself first. That's just impossible. You have to make sure you're taking care of you, whatever that looks like. Which leads me to number 2, please go to therapy right away. Something I wish that me and my family would have done right away was go to therapy to help us process what was happening because, like Roberta shared, my dad was never sick at all. He was the only one in the house that he didn't have allergies, like nothing. He was never sick, so it was very strange. This came out of nowhere. He was type 2 diabetic. That came out of nowhere, like very late stages in his life. So I wish we would have gone to therapy to help us process what was happening and the trauma, that was traumatizing for us. And then thirdly, find you a community. You have to rely on community. I can't tell you how important it is to have people to lean on. And if you don't have a community, find one like this so that you can form connections, make relationships, and tell people what you need because you can't be helped if you don't have somebody to tell. And I know for some caregivers, they genuinely are isolated for various reasons. Either it be where they live or they don't have extended family or friends like that, and so they're just by themselves. So find communities like this where you're in part of an organization where you can, form the community that you need to help you and your loved one through it.
Thank you. Thank you. Wisdom. Let me ask you one other question, and then I want to open it up to see if others have questions or comments. What would you recommend to people about what to say to you or not to say to you as somebody going through this experience? Jerry, do you want to start?
Okay, you can say, how are you? But you can't say, how are you? Like I'm in a coffin, or something. So that was one thing. And the other thing was people just understand, people would call me and I'd have to give them the medical update. And they don't realize that it's like I'm giving the medical update 3 times a day and it's draining. And then I just wanted to be normal. And so I'd be like, how are you doing? What's going on in your life? And I don't know, their plumbing got broke or something, life happened. And then they'd immediately go, oh, but it's not as bad as you. It's not as bad as you. And I'm like, okay, I'm not competing. And I just, because I'll trump you. But the thing is, it's so hard, but just try to treat a pancreatic cancer person as normal. They won't be offended, and it's almost like then they get to forget and instead of having the spotlight on them.
Yeah.
So those are my 2 bits of advice.
Love those. Isn't it nice when you can have some complete freedom from
Yes.
knowing that you know, that you are the person with cancer?
Yes.
That freedom is a lovely thing sometimes. Roberta?
Well, she took mine.
Oh, sorry.
But yeah, it's okay to ask, how are you? But like, so don't ask like, oh my God, I'm so glad you're still here. Which is something that I got even a lot from the medical staff, which isn't really, really encouraging. But don't be afraid to give me a hug. I'm not gonna break. I promise if my stomach is upset, I'll let you know ahead of time. So maybe you don't wanna have contact, but treat me like you did before.
Yes.
Don't put the label of pancreatic cancer survivor. Don't let that be the first thing out of your mouth when you're meeting me or you're talking to me. You know, I'm more than that. I was more than that before. I'm a mother, a wife, a foster 4-legged, 3-legged animal person, a paralegal, a pain in the butt. Don't treat me different. If you disagree with me, disagree with me. If you want to have an argument with me, have an argument with me. I mean, I can promise you we will still end on good terms. So if that happens to be the last time you see me, you don't have to feel guilty. Because, you know, I always try to turn things, I have an odd sense of humor, I'm sorry. I always try to turn it around. I always try to leave the positive. I don't want to ever, hopefully when my time is up, I don't want somebody to cry, but somebody said something very prominent to me is, miss me, but don't mourn me. But, you know, again, treat me as you did before. I mean, if you hated me before, keep on, it's fine. You know? But just be yourselves with me, be the way we were. Just don't be afraid to have that argument. I'm not a piece of china, I'm not gonna break. Trust me, if pancreatic cancer didn't kill me, nothing that you say or do is going to. So just treat me as if you did before and just let me forget that I have pancreatic cancer, because like I said, I used to say I'm living with it. It is now living with me. I'm tired of it taking control. But just treat me like anybody else. Just treat me normal is all I think is the best advice I can give.
Thank you. Vic, what about saying or wish?
I wish at this point here, oftentimes people do, you know, there's a concern that they want to be part of you, and that's something you can't take away from them. You want to allow them to come into your life. You're part of their life, obviously. When they come to you, you know, it's oftentimes, even at work, you know, when I was working, I hadn't retired prior, but, you know, people will come to me, and I think the biggest thing for me was not to open up a conversation of how our life is at home with the situation that Roberta was going through. It seemed like every time we discussed it, it refreshed that moment over and over again. You can't put it away. It's always there. It's within you anyway. You just don't want to talk about it. You don't want to bring it out. But if other people bring it out to you, it's just a remembrance of it occurring over and over and over again. You need to have that peace of mind knowing that you're going to be strong for her, yes. You want to be good to them, yes. But it can't always be about always hearing about the worst of things. Let's talk about our daily lives, what we're going through on a personal basis, something for me personally that I am going to help you with, that you're going to work with me, that we're going to be together. But if the occasion comes up where we discuss of that, then let's just cut it short, no changes, whatever, but let's move on, because it's reliving it moment for moment thereafter every time that brings it up to current status. And it's good to have everybody with us, absolutely yes. But let's do it together and let's be prosperous in thinking. We've got good reasons why we're together. Let's live that together now. And what we're going through, what goes on behind closed doors, it's something that we don't want to amplify with everything that we do and we live through on a single moment through the day. And it's tough sometimes.
Thank you, Vic. It sounds like you're living a mindful way of life. It
Yes.
reminds me of our mindfulness exercise. Ashley.
So I'm going to speak to the other side, since me and my family are on the grief side of things. Don't say, in comparison what your relationship was like with our loved one. That has been the most disheartening experience for people to, in their quest to affirm their relationship with our dad, is it starts to feel like a competition. And that's disheartening to the caregiver who's already mourning and missing their loved one and wishes that they had more time with them, when you're trying to prove your relationship when you're having conversations with us. I know you had a relationship with my father. I don't need you to tell me how special he was to you and what he really, I don't need you to do that. Because now you get to diving into how much time you, don't do all of that. I'm grateful, I'm glad you admired him, but now you're demeaning what our family's relationship was with him, because at the end of the day, he was one aspect of your life, but he was every aspect of our lives. He was everything to us. He's just one, you only knew him in one way. You didn't know him in all the ways that we knew him. So don't demean our relationship with him in your quest to try to relate to us, because you can't. It's not the same type of relationship. Just, ask about us more. Talk to us more. Check in with our emotional state, because as they've expressed, life goes on. We're still grieving 5 years later. You're not. You get to move on, and he's a distant memory for you, but he's an ever-present memory for us.
And what can people say, what have people said to you that has been helpful or is helpful now? Jerry, Ashley, I'm going to start with you.
I have really appreciated when people share wisdom that my dad gave them, things that they still carry with them and how it's really impacted their lives, or if it's something funny that, because he had a very sick sense of humor. And it was one of those situations where if you knew with Dr. Johnny Vern Baylor. Just a dynamic, boisterous personality. So I enjoy when people actually share their memories of a joke he made with them, or just something that has helped their life and trajectory, and to see the impact of that. And just when they, call and check on us, say that they love us, and they still spend time with us. We're not, treated like outcasts. And now that he's gone, it's like, okay, we did away with the family, but they still actually have, interactive relationships with us as a family. That has been super helpful.
And Jerry, what's helpful to you?
I'm sitting here and I'm trying to think of what was helpful. It's just, I can only repeat what Roberta said is, I just want to be normal. Obviously I'm going through that, but I don't want the focus to be on me. And I do have to share something that's so funny. So now I go to scans annually, and I'll tell family and friends, my scan was all clear. I love this word, unremarkable. Never, when I finished chemo and my oncologist sat down, and I am just a stress ball, and he goes, well, the results are unremarkable. And I'm like, is that a good thing? Or is that a bad thing? But so now when I go get a scan and I tell people, and they're like, congratulations. And I just think that's so funny, because I'm like, I studied really hard for that. But it's really just, this may sound weird, but it's like people not saying anything. The love and support that I received during that terrible, terrific experience filled my heart like nothing. And when my family or friends just smile at me and I know genuinely how blessed I am. And I want to pay it forward. So I don't really have an answer to your question, but it's more just celebration of life.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's an answer.
Okay.
That's a good answer. Thank you. I am mindful that it's 3:00. And I wonder, I could go on talking to this panel for hours. But I wonder if we shouldn't, because it's been a day with so much information and so much connection, that I wonder if we shouldn't wrap it up here or have
We've built in an extra maybe 10 minutes.
Okay.
Is that
Okay.
good? If anybody needs to go, we want to be mindful of their time, but we also know that this panel is we are so blessed to have them here, and we want everybody to have some time with them.
Let me ask one more question, and if anybody has something that they would like to say or ask, please come up and we will call on you.
Right.
Do we have anybody?
I do. I have an
Okay, then
online
let's-
question.
Then let's start there.
Somebody asks, I feel like I can't share with other than very close relationships about my mother's recent diagnosis because I am scared of other people's reactions. How do you deal with that?
Okay. Would you all like to talk about that?
I actually understand, because dealing in my own, like Vic said, I didn't talk about my own situation probably for 6 years. And it was because of the reaction I got from people when I did say that I was just diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, or that what I was getting from the medical people, I think, was probably the worst. But I went to a support group thinking that it would help. It was the worst experience of my life. I could, very visual, apparently I have quite an imagination. When I told them I had pancreatic cancer, when they were saying breast cancer, people were clapping, or other cancers, people were clapping. When I said pancreatic, they stopped midair and didn't know how to respond. Okay, in my mind, okay, take this, I saw them digging my hole, rolling me in, and covering me up. From that day, I didn't say a thing. I talked, like Vic said, I talked about my family, but I couldn't talk about myself until I went to my first advocacy day and realized how many survivors were not able to speak up. So then I had another guilt I had to go through for not speaking up sooner. But I totally understand, and I get it, but I think the best thing you can do is just reach out to those people that you can trust.
Yes.
Don't go someplace that you're not sure what the reaction is going to be, or you don't trust the reaction. Go to where you trust what the reaction is going to be and talk to them and talk them through it, and see what their reaction is. I think they would be very positive and supportive. So go where you know who your audience is or who you're speaking to.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say I agree with Roberta, because you do have to have discernment, and unfortunately you cannot share these types of circumstances with everybody. But if you already have a trusted system of support that you can talk to, especially other caregivers, finding other caregivers who can relate, that's really, really important.
So find those people who you think will be supportive. And what some people have told me in my research is, sometimes you don't know who your real friends are, or who can be there for you until you tell them. And so sometimes you're unhappily surprised, sometimes you're happily surprised by people who really can be there for you. So it's not an easy trick to discern who's going to be most supportive, but in general, go to those who you think you can trust. Let's start here.
Yeah, I was just wondering, for the last stage of life, you're taking pain meds and I guess marijuana. Can you do stuff like go to the movies until like a month before you die, or how does that?
Are you asking for the caregiver or for the patient?
Well, I guess Dr.
Oh.
John,
Yeah, my dad was still going to play golf.
All right.
So, and working out, going on his 15-minute, 20-minute walks, or whatever he could withstand. But my dad literally pastored until he couldn't.
Okay.
So do what you can.
Oh, may I add a little comment to that on that for you? I think at one time I did say earlier that you got to take every day for what it is. And you take that day because that's been given to you. It's a gift. You make it worth whatever it is that's going to make you what you are, and you make it last a lifetime, because that's what you have. You only get that one day, and think of that every single day. And if you collect all these days, it could be years before you even see that last day given to you.
Yeah,
God bless you.
thank you. And I know you were second, so go ahead.
I just wanted to say that the support that I see here has been great for me at least, because less than 2 weeks ago I was diagnosed, and in less than 2 more weeks I'm going to have surgery. So I wanted to say that the support I've received already from everyone here,
God bless you.
and that's number one. Number two, I think of Ashley here, being a caregiver. My wife,
Don't do it to me. Don't do it to me. I'm gonna fight back to you. I understand.
It's tough.
in 2012, I had open heart surgery. In 2013, I had a kidney transplant. My wife was the donor.
Oh.
In 2018, the transplant failed, so I had to get back on dialysis. In 2023, I had my second open heart surgery. So I thought I'd passed everything. And I thought that she was done caregiving. And now I'm faced with this. So just want to tell her thanks. That's all. And thanks for everybody here.
You're going to make it. You're coming out to the other side. I mean, look, it's not a death sentence anymore. It really isn't. So good luck with you. To you, your surgery is going to be awesome. And to your wife, take the advice that we've given. Call Hirschberg, get into, a caretaker support group, and you're going to make it. I totally believe in it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
Totally. And you have faith. If you have faith, you might add to your comments. Yeah, it's
Ann,
tough.
over here.
It's tough.
Would you like to go ahead over here? Thank you.
To find a place where you're comfortable, to find a place that you feel like you're at home, where people don't judge you, is so important. So I'd like to recommend to everyone Tom Arise Support Group.
Yeah.
Tom is over here.
Tom's group meets online every Friday at 9 o'clock. And I found a comfortable place to be where people understand. And if you don't like Tom, you can come to my support group, which is on the fourth Thursday at 5 o'clock every month.
Awesome.
And where?
Online.
Online. So both are online. Now, Tom, it's good to see you. And really wonderful support groups where people truly understand. So thank you for bringing that up.
Okay, this is following the same line, especially for people online. I didn't hear, Ashley, do you have a support group name or something that is it on Facebook, or how do people get in touch with you?
You can find me on Facebook and on Instagram. The name of mine is the Baylor Strong Project, LLC. I named it after my dad. And so if you have any caregivers that want to get in touch with me, I actually have some flyers out where you can scan the QR code and we can get in touch.
They're out in the lobby?
I have them with me.
Okay.
I'll pass them out.
I'm a patient, but I kind of wish I were a survivor because your group sounds great. One of the things I really want to thank you, and I'm so sorry I forgot your name now, but the gentleman that you guys that are caregivers, the way and the things that you guys are expressing, I've never heard a caregiver say so eloquently. And it really makes me go, oh, you do get what we're going through, and you're going through it on your side too. And we say it 5 million times, but the truth is, I honestly do believe the caregiver is the more difficult position. I'm going through my cancer, I'm going through it, I'll go through the chemo, but my caregiver has to watch me go through it and deal with their own stress and deal with the aftermath and everything like that. So I really do appreciate it. The last thing I want to say, of these many things I was going to say, is I have a friend that they're a multi-year survivor. They're doing pretty well, I think. And they've gone into the hospital a number of times where doctors have said, they've pronounced certain things. Oh, it's your cancer. Oh, it's this. Oh, it's that. And all I've ever heard her ask, and this is more for the practitioners, I'm not going to turn around and face them, but sometimes she just says, I wish they would say, I think it's the cancer. Not, oh, it's cancer pain. And then they find out it's something different. And the reason why is because we as the patients were helpless. And we look to these professionals and everybody, and they're not gods. We know that. I hope they know that too. But sometimes they have so much authority and speak so much into our lives. When they say something definitive, like, oh, it's the cancer growing again, and then we find out a few days later that it was an infection, it kind of rattles us. So I wish practitioners would more often just put a little more humanity into it, just to say, hey, I think it's this, but let's find out. And that would really kind of steady this ship a lot of times, because it's a rocky road. Whoa, a ship on a road, that doesn't work. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you for that message. I do want to make one more comment about what you just said, and that is, I've done a lot of these panels over the years, and not only here but other places. And one of the things I've noticed is that often when you get to the patient panel section of the talk, all the physicians disappear. And I want to note that our physician speakers are all here. So I think the Hirschberg Center is one place where you find that physicians really want to listen and really respect what you are going through. And I find that unfortunately remarkable and unusual, and I am so thankful for it. So just shout out to you physicians today for staying for the whole time. Yes, sir.
Thank you. One more comment. I'll try to make it short. My name is Norman, and I am a 7-year survivor of a Whipple. I've had no signs of cancer since then to give the other people hope, although I do have scan anxiety at the end of the month. But I hope my physicians are on to me now. And I appreciate this panel, and I appreciate all the compassion that I have for you. And my caregiver. I want to move on and bring up another issue that I have that's always bothered me, and that my diagnosis was what I also heard the word incidental. And it has bothered me ever since the 7 years. I showed up for my appointment with the doctor, and I said, am I here just for luck? Why is this incidental? I'll never forget his blank stare. And yes, he said, it's just luck. I want to know from the panel, when you heard about this, did you feel that frustration that all we have is luck? Don't we have anything from our primary physicians? Well, we don't have primary anymore. 5-minute primary providers, our PAs, our LPNs, or whoever they are. Don't we have anything a little bit more proactive from the medical profession? Not just us. I heard all you people. I heard it. We have to go to them and say, can you help us? Yes, you can help us. I know what you've done. I know there's an 80% chance in 1960 that if you went on the operating table, you will die. We're not there anymore. We've come a long way. But I don't hear anything about what you're doing to help us diagnose and catch people earlier. Anybody feel that frustration?
Roberta?
First, and I totally get it, and probably the majority of the people are diagnosed by accident. But something we have to really understand is pancreatic cancer is so difficult to diagnose that a lot of times, and I feel sorry for our doctors, because they can only do so much. It's not like you can lay down on the table and they can normally feel it. You know where the pancreas is located. It's so far back that a normal exam is not going to find it. And unfortunately, because we don't have a blood test like the PSA now has, we don't have a colonoscopy, we don't have the breast exam where we can detect it early because of the location. So what we need to get the research so these doctors can be given those tools so they can help diagnose this early. I was only diagnosed early because I lost 3 family members and I had to be very aggressive to get that diagnosis. So, I mean, I understand totally what you're saying, but at the same time, you know, our doctors can only do so much when they only have a certain amount of tools that they can use.
At this time.
Yes, at this time.
At this time.
At this time. And I think from what I heard today on the progress report, Hirschberg is on the way,
Yeah.
and we will be having something. I remember a doctor saying one year here, and I can't quote it exactly, it's just around the corner, so just be patient.
And
I
Ashley?
was going to say, same thing, that is not on our doctors, is on the funding that is extremely important for our researchers to have so that they can get what they need. And this is why funding, everyone already knows what's happening with funding right now. But as I shared with, Dr. Annette earlier, coming from a church setting, we're used to supplying our own community to meet the need. As a church, we don't get governmental help as churches. We bring the tithes and our offerings into, community, and we support one another for what we need. And so that same principle needs to be the same thing for our nonprofits and organizations that need the funding for research. We need to come together nationally as a community, and we need to support our own, regardless of what the government is doing, so that we can have proactive tools and measures in place to catch it early on.
Thank you. And Jerry, did you have something to say?
I just wanted to say again, in advancements, I just think it is around the corner for a blood test or things like that. My heart goes out to the doctors. When I came in, and because they saw a shadow on my CT scan, I had no symptoms. I hadn't lost weight. I didn't have back pain. The CA 19-9, it's supposed to be 35 or higher to indicate if you have pancreatic cancer. Mine was 4.62. So it's so sneaky and quiet, and but I really think there's hope. So, I support the doctors, and it's got to be frustrating for them.
Hi, I just wanted to follow up on the question you asked about what people should not say. I'm a 9-year survivor of the Whipple, and over the 9 years, I normally don't go out when I'm not feeling well, but I try to get out as much as I can when I can function, when I can stand and I can smile. And the first thing everybody says to me is, "You're cured." And I don't to this day. And anybody that knows me know I, not for a lack of words, I don't know how to answer that. Because then you sound like I'm sick. Am I sick? I don't know if I'm sick. I'm not sick at this moment. So that's something I wish people would not, especially with pancreatic cancer people. I don't know if there really is you could be, in remission or a lot of different things, but I don't really think there is a cure. So that bothers me.
Thank you. And I wonder if we have some wisdom from the panel about what you say when somebody says, "Oh, well, so you're cured now, right? You're done."
Or you should be, not you should be, but aren't you grateful? And like, to me, the message is I shouldn't have any problems and I should just focus on life. And it's like, it doesn't need to be said. I am beyond grateful. But at the same time, it's like, excuse me, I'm a human being too. I want to go back to what you said, Dr. Annette, about like when I was diagnosed, I had head down, I am getting through this. I'm getting to the doctor. I'm doing this, this, and this. And then when the chemo ended, because I had to just buckle down for my husband, my kids, and had to be a warrior. But afterwards, when you come out of it, that's when I had feelings, because I couldn't allow myself to have feelings before. And so, like I went to Tour de Pierre and I was really emotional, and a couple people said to me, well, why are you crying? You know, you survived. And it's like, you know, to what you said, it's like, can I just be human? You know, it's like, I don't need you to tell me who I am, what I am, and it's never malicious. It's just, you know, I think it's educating people, and I think this panel has really come up with a lot of information that's helpful to everybody out there.
Roberta, do you have an answer?
It's hard for me because I still have my tumor. It's still here. So it's not like I don't feel like I'm not cured, obviously. I'm not in remission. We don't really know what label to put on it, only that it's decided to be dormant and not do anything right now, which I'm very grateful for, and it can stay asleep as long as it wants to until maybe somebody here in this room, a doctor, can find a surgery that is going to take care of mine. I will be very hopeful for that. But it's just, I think, again, just the worst thing is when somebody tells you, I know how I feel. Yes, I am grateful. But there's other things that are going on in life, too.
Yeah.
It's not just about the pancreatic cancer. There's other things that are going on. I have foster animals that I need to medicate and take care of and make a schedule for and do, you know, I have sons, and we have a family. We have other things that need to take precedence as well. So don't tell me how I should feel, and just give me a hug and be grateful. I guess we're all grateful, but yeah, so.
And one more.
A lot of things, a lot of people have talked to me with things that I found inappropriate or made me feel strange or sad. And for a long time, I didn't know what to say. But what I've finally figured out is to turn it around a little bit. So now I would say, I thank you for your great concern. Pancreatic cancer is a terrible, sneaky disease that's hard to diagnose. So you can activate your concern by coming to the LA Cancer.
Oh my God.
Donate to the Hirschberg Foundation.
I did not pay Jay to say that.